Hi, I'm Stefan Baril, and I would like to show you the new version of my extension AnimDessin2. So actually, I'm the co-creator of AnimDessin2. I created this panel with Renaud Armanet from Tigobo Animation, which is a former animator, and also now work like a director, producer for a lot of animation, and he also creates with Flavie Darshan a big event which is named Meet the Artist. And to demonstrate this panel and the purpose of this panel, I will use the Sylvain de Boissy artwork. He built this quick animation, which is a small wombat running a world cycle, at this big event, Meet the Artist, in 2013. So thanks to him, he authorized me to use it for my demonstration, and it's really nice. He created, by the way, this piece of artwork during during a presentation, a masterclass, really quickly, talking with me, talking with the audience. And it's really cute and a smooth, nice animation. So thanks to him. So it's really for that, for creating a cell animation, a classical cell animation. I mean, handmade frame by frame. So you draw each frame, and that's really a beautiful animation. So I'll put on the description some links regarding this classical animation. You'll take a look, if you didn't know the process, some video of Glenn Keane explaining how to animate and to draw the keyframe and to keep the movement smooth, etc. And also for the technical part, this video of multi-point camera explaining how to shoot the picture, the final picture, and how to expose several times the picture, so shoot twice, for example, the same frame to slow down a little bit the movement. So my animation panel will reproduce exactly this process. Like you can see, here you have a frame just visible one time, and here you have some frame visible 2 times. So you'll find that, I think if you don't know the animation, you'll find that interesting. My advice is to take a look at this video, and if you're just passionate by animation, take a look also, because it's a really cool video. So here the purpose of this introduction was just a reminder, because I'm not an animator, so I can't animate anything else than potatoes inside Photoshop. So sorry for that. Just also to give you an overview, if you was a user of AnimDessin2, the version 1 or 1.0.1 looks like this. So it's complicated, and here now it's really a nice, I hope, a nice design with some just button with some icons on it. And by the way, all you have there are linked approximately there. So I had some new feature I will show you in a few minutes, and some new buttons there, which call some classical feature inside Photoshop, but that's just a shortcut. So I reduced the size, and to be honest, previously the 2 first steps was really complicated for beginners. Now I really simplify that by just 4 buttons there. So all the too complicated stuff is there now, really simplified. So here the panel, you'll find the panel in the window menu, extensions, AnimDessin2. Just a quick agenda. I will show you first a quick overview of what is the purpose of each button first, and a quick potatoes animation during this process. And after that, I will give you some tips and tricks on the panel. Also pointing, I will demonstrate the limitation also of this panel. Just as a reminder, I'm not a developer at all. I'm just classical designer using some macros and some tool to convert these macros in code and putting this code, this JavaScript, inside some HTML buttons in this panel. So I have some limitation, and so I will point you this limitation, and I will point you the workaround to work smoothly, even if I have some limitation. And after that, also some tips and tricks on shortcut and on the timeline video at the end. So first of all, the first button is a reminder. You absolutely need, it's mandatory, to have the timeline open to use the second button there. If not, this second button will give you this alert message and this error message. So just open the timeline using this button. And by the way, you need the timeline to work in animation. So by the way, it's mandatory anyway. So now if I click on this button, you need first to set up the frame rates. So you have 12, you have 30, you can enter the value you want, so that could be custom. And after that, you're ready to go. But if the default value I'll give you, which is by default 1080p, you can just use the canvas size feature to reduce or augment the size of your canvas. So in my case, I will reduce that at 720p, and because it's smaller than the previous one, a warning say you will crop something and you will lose some material, but because it's a white background and an empty layer, no issue, you can check this box, and that's okay. Now I would like to zoom a little bit on the timeline, so I can click several times there, or I can simply click at the end there, and that will maximize for me the visibility of my frame there. So it's a classical layer, pixel layer, inside a video group. A video group is not a regular group. The importance of this video group is in the timeline, because when you stack layers in this kind of group, they will be stacked, in a line opposed to on top of each other. So you will have an animation line, so which is really convenient. So by default, if you create a regular layer, it will be visible during all the duration of a timeline. So don't use it, use my button to create a regular layer. So let me just draw my potatoes, my first potatoes. To animate, for the animation, generally you need to enable the onion skin to see the picture before, the previous picture, and the frame after. But by default, just be aware, you need to have minimum 2 frames to enable the onion skins. That's a classical behavior, but you need to be aware about that. So let me just create, first to create a second picture. I can click on the onion skins options. So generally I set up 2 frames before, and down a little bit the max opacity, perhaps the minus opacity also, and just say OK. So you will see, thanks to a multiply blend mode, the previous picture, even if this picture is not visible. So if you don't know what is onion skin, it's a preview of the previous picture. So now I can draw my potatoes there, and I can continue to work and to animate. So that's really simple. You can play, you can flip the animation, you can loop the animation, and that's it. But sometimes you need, for example, to slow down a little bit the movement, to expose 2 times, twice or more, this frame. So you can do that, after all, clicking in this button to expose more or less this this frame. But you will decide also to create directly two exposed, a frame with a 2-time exposure. Just clicking on that button, and that's the reason why I previously set at 2 the frames before to show you that. And now I can continue to draw, and again I can continue to draw like that. So you could also duplicate, for example, this layer. So let me colorize this frame, this keyframe, and for example, I can duplicate this frame, so I don't need to redraw the same line, and perhaps I can add some line on it. Okay, now if I want to continue, I can create another one. I can just delete this one. I can continue to draw. I can now open a little bit the mouth, etc., etc. And I can, for example, colorize this one. Imagine now all this draft animation is finalized, and you can create a new group on top to, for example, clean the line on top. So you can go at the beginning of your animation and click on this button to create another animation line on top. So first of all, let me just down a little bit the opacity of this rough, and you can click there to create a new animation on top. So now, for example, I can just smooth my line, and I can create another one, and etc., etc. I can now, clean my line. Okay, so just be aware that's possible. If you are at another position, for example, there, when you click there, it will create your new animation line at the position of the playhead. That could be really helpful if you want, for example, to introduce a second character in your animation. You could also use these different animation lines, for example, to separate the eye, the move, the body, stuff like that. So depending to your workflow or what you prefer, you could use that really easily and quickly. So let me just undo that, and let's continue to draw and to work. So if now I want to draw some to add some frame in between these two colored one, you have the ability to click there to add an in-between. An in-between is just when you want to smooth your movement, you need to add some frame between the two others. And if you need to now anchorize, you can anchorize quickly using this button. Sorry. So let's pretend this is an important frame, this is another important frame, etc. So here now, if I click to play, I loop in the entire work area there, because by default you work in the entire work area. You can reduce the visibility, for example, to only loop and to only test your animation in this section. So now you only take a look at this section. By default, the player doesn't loop. You need to just check this option to enable the loop. You need also to enable timeline shortcut keys to have the ability to press spacebar, like in any video or audio software. Spacebar means play, pause, play, pause. Okay, and this option also allow you to use the right arrow key to move to the next frame, the left arrow key to move to the previous frame, shift up arrow key to move at the beginning, and down arrow key to move at the end. So that's what this button enabled. That's exactly the same than checking this box, this line. So this is the principal, button in the panel. But I also put there three functions which normally are just located there to just highlight this function, which are really unknown in Photoshop. And I think that could be useful for animators, and especially if you work on a complex scene or with assistant in betweener or something like that. You need to add some comments. So for example, if my thread is there and I want to give some indication to my assistant, I can just go there and click on this button to add a comment. Let's say, for example, start the movement, don't know what. You can go there and say, for example, here I would like to add a turn right, for example, not right, right, and say okay. I can add a lot of comments, but just for the demo, and you can export that in HTML file or in text file, txt file. So let's take a look at HTML, and let's say anim replace, jump there, just refresh, and now you will have a complete table with all your comments with the frame number or the time, the duration there. So that could be helpful to just report where you are, or to have some indication you can print, etc., etc. So that's the quick overview of my extension. Now I would like to show you how to install it and to give you some advice, some workarounds, and explaining you also the limitation of this panel. So first of all, how to download this panel. You'll find this panel in Photoshop CC. It's different in CS6. I'll come back in CS6 in a few minutes. In the window menu, extensions, and Adobe Exchange panel. What is that? Adobe Exchange is like an app store for extensions and presets. Extensions mean some additional panel like AnimDessin, and presets mean texture, brushes, scripts, stuff you could add like a preset in Photoshop. So it's an app store, so you have some you have some free stuff, you have some paid stuff, you have your stuff. You will be notified by a red button there if you have some updates in your stuff. So that's it. If you want to find really quickly my animation panels, just search for animations and you'll find my panel. So here, because I'm in Photoshop CC, you'll find the panel available, only the panel available for CC. If you are a CS6 user, that's not AnimDessin2 at all, that's AnimDessin short version, so version 1 meaning, but so AnimDessin2 is only for Photoshop CC. So if you are a CS6 user, you need first to install Adobe Exchange, and you need to download it from adobeexchange.com. And from adobeexchange.com, you download the installer of this Adobe Exchange panel, and then you'll find AnimDessin in this panel. So for actual user, just click on AnimDessin, click on the free button, and a progress bar will start, and the process of the installation will start too. At the end of this process, a message will invite you to just restart Photoshop, and after that you'll find my animation extension in Window Extensions AnimDessin2. Now I would like to give you some tips and tricks regarding the panel itself, but also the timeline panels, and also some explaining you some limitation I have in this extension and this process of animating in Photoshop, and some workaround for skipping this issue. So first of all, I would like to show you the first limitation before giving you some tips and workaround. The first limitation is due to the HTML extension panel. When you click on any button inside this panel, inside an HTML panel, that's a known issue. For example, this one. When you press spacebar to play, when you press your arrow key to move, or any key which is a shortcut key, for example B for brush, V for move tool, L for lasso tool, that doesn't work because the key focus are now inside the AnimDessin panel. If you click anywhere in the UI, the default UI there, for example, your shortcut will come back. So just be aware about that. If you click on this button, for example, at the beginning of the process, you can click an edge button, but when you want to start to animate, just click somewhere to refocus on the UI. But if you are in the process of animating, for example, there, that could be an issue to click and to lose the focus, so you will lose also the flipping possibility. Here the workaround regarding that. Instead of clicking on this button, you will probably prefer to assign a shortcut. And by the way, if you want to be more productive and more in the process of the creation, you need to assign a shortcut. So you don't leave your canvas, click, leave your canvas, and come back again and come back again. So for that, all the custom code I put in some of these buttons, some other like save or show timeline are default function of Photoshop, but for the custom I create, for example, this one, and some other one like that, you could assign a shortcut inside your menu. For example, I put, let me show you the shortcut dialog box. If you select application menus, file, and you download it a bit, you'll find in the scripts section some scripts named AnimD2, starting by AnimD2, and that's my script. So you can assign a shortcut really quickly, accept, save the set if you want to share it, and that's all you need to do to use, for example, let me apply this shortcut, to use and to animate inside Photoshop. And you still have your shortcut available because you're using regular shortcuts and you didn't click at all. You don't click at all inside the HTML panel. If you need for any reason to click there because you didn't assign, just be aware to just click somewhere and you can continue to work. Now, another issue every user of my panel met is this issue. If you take a look there, the active selected layer is this one, and my playhead is there. So I can't draw on this one because when I flip, sometimes I just want to I work on this one, okay, but sometimes I want to correct this line because I see, for example, a mistake on this line. But I can't select, I need to click on the layer to correct it. But you could use a trick to select this layer without having to leave your canvas. For that, you need to hold down the Command key, Control key on Windows, and you'll switch temporarily on the Move tool. Command key or Control key. And because I set up some option in the Move tool, I can select easily my layer, my visible layer, by clicking on the line. So now, for example, I can do stuff like that. Command click, up, flipping, Command click, flipping, Command click, And that's all. I can continue to flip and add details. So to work in that way, you need first to select your move tool and to check auto select the auto select options, and to select layer in place of group, which is by default the selected option. And with that, you can just now click on the stuff really easily and really quickly. So that was the workaround I would like to give you, and the two big limitation I had. So there is some way to skip this limitation and to walk away this limitation. Now I would like to give you some tips and tricks in general in this timeline panel and in the animation. First tip: normally you didn't have access to this command line, so you need to enable it, and you need to show it clicking on this function. If you want, for example, now to have number of frames there instead in place of I don't remember, sorry. So you need to, the default is not the number of frame. You need to go in the panel options and timecode, sorry, that was timecode I'm looking for, and frame rate. So you can click on timecode, that's the default, behavior. But instead of moving there, you can simply, with Alt key, clicking on this number, and you switch between the frame number and the, I forget again, sorry. So that's how that work. There. You can move again. You can move by this way. You can hold down the Alt key and duplicate also a layer. So that's also another trick. You can move that on the top, at the top, if you already have a video group. So if not, you can create another video group like that, and you can Alt key and move there. So you can quickly and easily manipulate the stuff like that. Sometimes also a lot of people are asking me if it's possible to add an audio. So at the bottom you have an audio track, so you can just click there and to select an MP3. If you want another audio track, you can add another audio track, you can reduce the volume, etc., etc. And remember also you have a background, so you can put on this background any environment or any video which is a reference for your animation, so you can do what you want. And last thing I would like to mention, you can after all render your video using the render video option just there, this arrow, using the Adobe Media Encoder, exporting like a sequences, etc. But if you prefer to composite your animation in After Effects, you don't need to render a video first. Just save your PSD and import your PSD in After Effects like a composition and not like a footage. Like a composition, you will have access to all the Photoshop layer inside After Effects, so that could ease a lot your composite. So I hope you enjoy this video, and please, my only payment in this project, just to be clear, I'm an Adobe employee, but this is my my side project. So my only payment on that is simply the passion and to have the ability to see what you guys could do, like a great piece of artwork in animation, because I'm a big fan of animation, and that's all I need. So please leave me a message when you do something with my panel and you want to share with me. I could put your video inside my user gallery. Thanks again for watching.